So the last important thing that we need to discuss for our script types is governance points. So NetSuite has got limitations when it comes to executing your different script types. And your different script types have got different usage limits or governance points that we can use. So as your code is running and you are using certain events, then points are being added. Once you exceed your points, you will get the dreaded usage limit exceeded error from NetSuite. So, for example, a client script only has 1,000 points. If you exceed 1,000 points in your client script, your code will fail and you will get the error message. You have a lot more points with restlets, for example. So a RESTlet, as we said, we would be using if we were communicating with a shopping cart, for example. So say we are getting all of our products from our shopping cart. That will return maybe 1,000 records. So when we're running through our RESTlet, and as we're looping through our records, we will be updating. When we're doing this, we are going to be using usage points. So say we reach 150 records and then we get our usage limit error. Everything up until that point will be saved except for the record that it failed on. Any other record that from there onwards will not be saved. So it will stop at that point. You get a lot more points for scheduled, MapReduce, and obviously your bundle installations. So a scheduled script, you'll have 10,000 points, so you can update. But it's very important to remember that if your scheduled script has got a lot of functionality in which it needs to do, creating records, updating records, moving data around, querying data, then you'll very quickly use those points up. So it's very important to count your points as you go through it. Now you'll see the mass update is different. It says 10,000 per record. So if we go back to our mass update, we obviously said the first part of a mass update was to go and query our data, get our data that we need to update. That could return 1,000 rows. With the mass update, it would then go and say, okay, I've got my 1,000 rows, which would be the ID and the table that I'm working with. And per record in that loop, I will have 10,000 points. So if I have 1,000 records that need to be updated, every record will have its own 10,000 points that it can use. So the mass update gives huge update functionality. It's just important to remember you cannot execute a mass update via script. It has to be by a user clicking a button and starting it. Unfortunately, you cannot start it itself. So to go into a bit more detail about governance points, we've got different event or different functions which we can fire in our scripts. So if we are going to load a save search, for example, that will cost 5 points. If we are going to schedule a task which needs to be executed at a point in time, just scheduling it will cost us 10 points. If we create a new custom record, so we have our own custom record we've created and we need to update it, that will cost us 2 points. So all the different updates, savings, editing, deletings have got their own points. The last one which we've got on our list here is saving a purchase order record, which is 20 points. So anything that runs on the transaction table is actually for saving is 20 points. This is the most expensive governance points that you're going to use. So if you're receiving a lot of data, for example, and you're looping through your data, and every time on every loop you're doing a new search, you're doing a new update, you're using a lot of points for every single loop. Now, I will show you in future lessons on how we can control our governance limits to be able to go and see, I've got my, for example, 5,000 points with a script, and every loop I'm using 40 points, for example, so that we can work out where our limitations are, so we can try and code accordingly. But it's very important that when you do lookups, when you do safe searches, or even you can even do SQL searches, that you do it in such a way that you're not doing it 2 or 3 times. If possible, try and reduce that so that you can use it, the searches or the updates, as little as possible, so that you can save yourself governance points. Because 1,000 points or even 5,000 points might sound like a lot, especially when you're talking with small numbers like 5 or 10, but you very, very quickly can run out of points. So it is very, very important in the back of your mind, whenever you're writing code, to always keep your governance points and to track your governance points as your code is executing, because it does make a big difference and it does prevent your code from failing.